All right, everybody. So welcome to the Calling on the Saints Black History Month kickoff event. We're going to give people a little bit of a time, yes, Black Bottom Saints. Everybody here on the screen, this is, Professor Alice Randall. What I would like to do, though, is give everybody a few minutes to jump in. We're going to try to start as close to on time as we can and also end as close to on time as we can. Everybody has things to do, and I want to be respectful of people's time. So what we're going to do is, while we wait a couple of minutes, I'm going to introduce you to the Saints, to the Black Bottom Saints. Enjoy. And this is my sound check, by the way, to make sure everything is working.
Awesome.
Y'all can hear that? Excellent.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, excellent. All right. Welcome, y'all. Welcome to the kickoff event. So what I'm going to try to do today is introduce, this idea, introduce myself. And to do that, let me see if I can get our order of service up here today. All right. Now, this book is a really beautiful thing, and I'm sure Professor Randall is going to give you a great insight into how and why it is beautiful. But I did want to just sort of frame today a bit, and I'm going to share my screen to do that. So, for those of you who are not from the South, I don't know what your church service looked like, but in the South, this thing about calling on the saints is definitely one of our traditions. And this book is sort of written in the same way that a book of Catholic saints might have been written, where you have some people who are presented, you have some ideas about their lives, and then you have some ideas about why you might call on them. And to sort of kick this off today, I thought I might introduce this as if this were one of those services. So welcome everybody. I will be your master of ceremonies for today, Michael Gerard Mason. I'm an associate dean in the Office of African American Affairs. And I just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of framing of what we're going to do. Then we're going to have an opening song, which is the Black Bottom Saints theme song, which was just released today by Louis York. We're going to have welcomes with a plural there, S, by Nwaka Onwusa, and I'll introduce them later. And then Louis York will give a few remarks, and then we'll have our main address from Professor Randall, and then we'll have a little bit of a Q&A, and hopefully we'll do all of that in about an hour's time. Now, as we start this service, what I would like all of y'all to do, if you haven't, get your phone and follow us on Instagram at LPJBCCUVA, and follow us on Facebook, LPJBCC, Luther Porter Jackson Black Cultural Center, Luther Porter Jackson Black Cultural Center at UVA. All right, so excellent. So for those of you who are not familiar with UVA, actually one other thing I wanted to do, just sort of call an order of business. For those of you who are sort of looking at the screen, right now you're in a share screen, but when we come out, you can choose a couple of views. You can choose gallery view and speaker view. Over the course of this hour, I imagine more people will continue to flow into the room, but you really want to be paying attention to the speakers. So if you just want to click in the top right-hand corner of your screen and choose speaker view when we're out of this shared screen space, that probably will be helpful to you. So Black History Month is definitely a time for celebration across the country, definitely for those of us who do diversity and inclusion work. And I remember when I started in OAAA about 6 years ago now, I began an event called Black Fridays with the help of some students. And it's an opportunity for us to come together, be together, and more importantly, to break bread together. And for those of you who have received some other emails from me, you have an idea about how that's going to play out. But basically, it's a time to come together. I remember 2 years ago, I switched it up and I tried to introduce a birthday Friday on the first Friday of the month, and some students lost it. They were like, where's the food? And they were saying this Friday, this first Friday of February is the Blackest Friday of the year. And in the spirit of that being the Blackest Friday of the year, I think this is a great opportunity to sort of kick this off. So Calling on the Saints theme this year is really meant to, in some ways, both pay tribute to the work that is done by the text that Professor Randall has written and the lives that were lived by those saints. And it's also to do a really important pivot. The original programming that I created for Black History Month for this year was entitled Origin Stories, which was meant to sort of tell the stories from trauma to triumph of some of the earlier Blacks who sort of made OAAA possible and have been responsible for helping matriculate thousands of students. But by the end of the year, I think I had my fill of trauma and thought maybe we should just focus on celebration. And that's how this came to be. Professor Randall was really great about helping us celebrate and use her text to do that. So one of the things that I want to do right now is I want to try to introduce who's in the room, because I won't do this later. For those of you who have an idea about how this service is going to go, this is where I say, and the program will follow as read. So what I want to do right now is introduce the three people who will be in this room with you and I, and then we'll sort of proceed. So first, Alice Randall is an author, songwriter, educator, and essayist known for her work exploring African-American history and identity. In addition to her new work, Black Bottom Saints, her other novels include Pushkin and the Queen of Spades, Rebel Yell, Ada's Rules, and the New York Times bestseller, The Wind Done Gone, an unauthorized parody of Gone with the Wind told from the perspective of a mulatto slave. Professor Randall teaches courses at Vanderbilt University on soul food, African-American children's literature, African-American film, and creative writing. She is author of 4 published novels and has produced screenplays, the groundbreaking Ada's App, and is an award-winning songwriter. Her most recent work continues to focus on investigating ways that the arts can be used to battle health disparity in the United States and around the globe. Next is Louis York. Louis York is the powerful duo and creation of a multi-Grammy nominated songwriting and production team, Clark Kelly and Chuck Harmony. Kelly, a 4 times Grammy Award nominee, and Harmony, a 3 times Grammy Award nominee, and 2011 NAACP Image Award winner. That's a whole lot to say. These guys are doing it. Both together and apart have written and produced hits for a long list of multi-platinum recording artists, including Rihanna, Bruno Mars, Miley Cyrus, Christina Aguilera, Mary J. Blige, John Legend, Celine Dion, Janet Jackson, and Whitney Houston, just to name a few. Having been described as a cross between Outkast and Earth, Wind, and Fire, the duo formed in 2015 and released their well-received EP trilogy, Masterpiece Theater, Act 1, 2, and 3. And they continue to create art. And then last but not least, Nwaka Onwusa. She's joining us from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's in the senior leadership team there and provides leadership and vision to the curatorial division, which includes permanent traveling and digital exhibitions, museum redesign. Hold on, there you go. Museum redesign, creative projects, artifact collections, and library and archives. So she came to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and did some really important work, particularly around social justice and equity. She has a virtual exhibit that was curated entitled "It's Been Said All Along: Voices of Rage, Hope, and Empowerment." And prior to that, she did a lot of work with the Grammy Museum at LA Live. So we're really happy to have her here. So with that said, it's really tough to introduce these powerful people in just this quick amount of time. I'm really grateful for them being here. So what I want to do is just sort of kick this off with our theme song. Give me 1 second. That's a whole lot, right? Oh, look at Louis York. I see y'all up there. Welcome. Welcome into the room. There you go.
Hey, how are you?
There you go. Welcome. You came just on the right spot here. So let me do this. Here we go. And now we are, and I understand that this single, this new song just released today. So I'm glad we're playing it here. Here we go.
Perfect timing. Yes.
Nope, that ain't the right one. Is that are you all playing the piano for that?
No, you're about to hear some brilliance. That was the warm up. Now Chuck and Todd are coming on. Yesterday at a Vanderbilt talk, they asked me from the audience, is there anything like Ziggy's happening in the world today? And it was an easy answer. I said, yes, the Weirdo Workshop. That's what Chuck and Todd have. It's an intersection of the arts that in community building. So I am so thrilled that they are breaking the day that they're dropping this and doing so many things that they're here with us today.
Yes, so here we go.
Bottom Saints to learn about the joy and the pain. So why don't you get yourself a drink at the bar, raise a glass and let's celebrate the glory of the Black Bottom Saints. I hope that you'll remember their names. In Black Camelot, music was hot, and everyone knew everyone's name. There's simply no denying that the factory folk caused a revolution in their own special way. It's crazy to think I used to the joy and the pain. So why don't you get yourself a drink at the bar? Raise a glass and let's celebrate the glory of the Black Bottom Saints. I hope that you'll remember their names. Oh, in Black Detroit, the girls and the boys were dancing with their own kind of flair. And Ziggy lit the fire with one hell of a show. The stars came out for a colossal affair. Oh, it's crazy to think I used to be in the dark. My history was all kind of vague. Well, I guess it took the Black Bottom Saints, oh, to learn about the joy and the pain. So why don't we get ourselves a drink at the bar? Raise a glass and just celebrate the glory of the Black Bottom Saints. Oh, the stories of the Black Bottom Saints. Oh, the glory of the Black Bottom Saints. I hope that you'll remember their names. Oh, all right. I said I hope that you remember their names.
There we go. There we go. The theme song.
Look,
Yeah, man.
thank y'all for
you.
that.
Thank
I'm
you.
telling you, I have to be honest. You know, we'll talk a little bit about this, I imagine, but you know, I work with 18 to 22-year-olds, and I was like, man, they are celebrating that bar. I love the music, but you know, we got to figure out how do people know. But I did want to contextualize some things, and I know Professor Randall will help us with this. But just so y'all know, all of you in the room and who will watch this video, one of the benefits, additional benefits of this text is that in addition to sort of celebrating these lives, each section includes a unique drink that you might use to toast to the saints. So that's part of that, you know. So just know, you know, these brothers ain't out there just telling you. There's more complexity here.
The drinks were
welcome. Thank you for letting us share that with the world.
Thank you for having us. Absolutely.
Yeah, and yes, Professor Randall, some of those drinks are alcohol free. For those of you 18 to 20, use those. So with that, let me just jump in. Let me see where we are. Let me look. I pull up my program here. So with that said, what I wanted to do, just yield the floor, you know, to Nwaka Onwusa. Please introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us what you're doing, and just sort of speak to the beauty of Black History Month and this work.
Yes, thank you so much, Dean Mason. It is truly an honor to be here. Professor Randall, thank you again so much for having me be a part of this conversation. I have to give a quick shout out to Mr. Claude Kelly. You may not remember me because I done cut my hair all the way down, but at the Grammy Museum, we met years ago, probably 2010 or something. You did some education programs for us back in the day. So
good to see you again.
Just to say hello. Oh my God,
hello.
This is amazing. I mean, just the power of that. I'm very emotional about music. I'm the Chief Curator and Vice President over at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So hello to everyone who's watching here in Cleveland, Ohio. So if you haven't heard about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, go on rockhall.com and you can learn more about what we do as an institution. And I am just truly grateful for being in the time that we're in right now, to serve as a storyteller, as a curator, as a culture shifter, as a narrative writer. I mean, that's what we're here to do. And I mean, hearing these songs, obviously having Black Bottom Saints as our topic today, I'm moved even by what you guys just created, the Weirdo Workshop. Remember their names. That that moved me. I got really misty-eyed there, because what we do, what my role is, Dean Mason, you mentioned the social justice exhibit that I curated here at the Rock Hall called "It's Been Said All Along." Again, this is highlighting these saints. I mean, this narrative goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today, and truly this message of equity, equality. Yes, remember their names. Laverne Baker, remember their names. There are so many giants that we have who have used music as a platform for social justice and equity. And that's what this exhibit is about. I love that this book touches on that narrative and the importance of keeping our Black heroes at the forefront, at the tip of our tongues. I mean, we are here to keep that griot going. I mean, I kept Black Friday, I'm all Black, head to toe. And we are the griot to keep the fire going, keep the conversation going. And I'm just so honored that I'm here as a curator to tell this message. But I mean, that exhibit, again, we inspire and talk about rage, hope, and empowerment. But Dean Mason, you mentioned it. You said you're talking about our triumph and trauma. And here we're here to celebrate our triumph. We've had so much trauma, and we did our beginnings, our trauma. Like, let's celebrate the triumph. Let's celebrate the resilience. That's what that exhibit is about. That's what I'm about, and what we're here to do. And pulling out our archives at the Rock Hall, let's highlight the triumph. Let's highlight the excellence. Let's highlight the resilience. I mean, yes, joy is radical. I love it. I love seeing these comments coming up. Like, it really is. And that's what we're here to do. Making sure that access, that our folks, that the new generation of songwriters and educators and deans and book writers, authors, they get to see their faces in these museums, get to see their faces in narratives like this. So it's really an honor that you guys are creating music like this, that stories are continuing to be created, and that's what we're here to do. So that's who I am. I don't want to take up too much time in the flow of the flow of the service today. So that's who I am.
All right. Well, look, I think Ms. Randall might be the mother of the church who would have to come and sit you down if you got too long. Okay. Good. I think we're going to be good. Lewis and York, welcome. Thank y'all for doing this. I understand y'all just popped out of another event, so we're grateful for your time. What y'all thinking about this?
We had to jump in.
Yeah, man, we're so excited to be here. You know, we are big fans of Alice, and we're also friends with Alice, and we've shared
family. We're family
with Alice, and we shared a lot of crab cakes and salads together,
dreaming about this book and the song and everything
like this. And so we're just so honored to be a part of telling the story, man, keeping this narrative going, that we are the vibranium that makes this whole thing works. And so I'm so excited about this book, and I'm excited about the theme song for sure, because we also want to spread the message that music belongs in a lot of different places, and we could be expressive in all of those places, and we could be creative in all of those places. And that's how we get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Artists like myself, artists like Claude Kelly. So we're really excited to be on this panel and just be here and share the good news.
Can I just add that we kind of jumped back when Nwaka said this, is because our debut album is called American Griot.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Because it's not just songs for us. You named a whole bunch of cool people we've worked with, and we're proud of that. But what we're most proud of is the fact that we've really discovered the true passion and purpose behind what music is supposed to do. It should converge with other arts like books and panels and movies and things like that. And we are traveling storytellers that should use all of our talents: the storytelling, the songs, the dance, the sermon, which is what you'll get from Alice very soon. The sermon, to teach people not just about what's cool, but about our history and about the things it took to get here. So this has been last year specifically, but the last couple of years have been a lesson to the same point about not focusing on the tragedy, because that's happening, but finding our joy and finding reasons to lean into your gifts. Make the most of what little you have sometimes, and when you do that, you find you have a lot. Amen. And so we created this song during quarantine locked away in the studio. And I think part of that was a blessing because it allowed us to really tap into what the book is about. And what Alice has been teaching us through the book for like about 2 or 3 years now. So we're just, again, like Chuck said, we're honored, but it's also divinely purposeful, the way music and stories and now this conversation comes together. We're just grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, man.
All right.
And I just said that I picked 2 saints for them today. Billy Eckstein, because they're both geniuses, and he was a genius.
I will take that.
And on the other side, I picked Joe Louis, because he's so powerful. And they won't even take the credit. We collaborate. We worked with an artist, Jimmy James Green, an African-American artist who apprenticed originally in Detroit under John Anye Larkart. Now he has a subway station in New York City with his art. And he also has a Black Episcopal church with his art. And Claude and Chuck worked with me to help support getting 52 collage portraits. You've been seeing them in some of these videos done that are a deck of playing cards. And at some point post-COVID, we were going to enter into the world with them, but that doesn't happen without their support, their spiritual support, their economic support, this interrelation of us working together to create equity and justice with our art.
We just want to play spades with everybody with a good, with a meaningful deck of cards. You know what I'm saying? We're coming around to play spades with everybody.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna have that. And we also have invented a game. It's called Peace Not War, and the lower card wins.
I like that.
Well, I just want to thank Zoom for the record button, because I have y'all saying y'all coming to UVA to play spades on tape now.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Hold us to it.
We will hold you to this.
And the history of it. We have some words that we can talk about the history of spades playing in the Black and community formation. And that was completely Claude and Chuck. We were going to be doing that at Essence Fest before COVID hit.
Right.
We were going to have celebrities.
We're going to have a whole spades tournament.
Oh, wow.
But we will be doing, Nwaka, we need you to, I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame needs to be hosting a Black Bottom Celebrity Spades tournament.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Led
we do.
by
And UVA.
There you
And
go.
UVA.
There we
Yes.
go.
Yes. Let's do it with some Uncle
We'll perform.
Look, now I ain't gonna say, I ain't putting y'all on the spot, because I ain't gonna get above where my status is. But I do want to say I did check out American Griot, when she said, hey, I think Louis York might come. I was like, wait a minute, who is Louis York? So I did, I'm just being real. But I want you to know I love How Will I Feel. It's an amazing song. Thank you for that. Thank you for that piece. If y'all have not heard of Louis York, together, you kind of probably know them separately, but if you haven't checked them out together, definitely go Google How Will I Feel. It's an amazing song. That album is actually really interesting there. Y'all are probably some of the most wide-ranging sort of performers that I've listened to in one album, at least. So that's really exciting. But How Will I Feel is a great song. So with that,
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, well, y'all are Louis York. It's a great song, though. It really is, to me. It touched me in some really important ways. It's a good song. And I think I say that so almost in passing, that it's a good song, but it is refreshing to hear music that at its core is good, right? That's not about, some of the things that are so commercialized, or sort of the things that are meant to go in and sort of create need and, bad longings. It's not that stuff.
Yeah.
It's good music that feels good to go in. I think it's a great album. So thank y'all for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's good. It's really good. Good. So all of y'all students, tell people to listen to it, because one of the things that I'm doing with this is I'm trying to put inside of us good things that we can lean on. And I do think your album is one of those things. So with that said, Professor Randall, I'm going to yield the floor to you. Talk to us about what this Black Bottom Saint playlist, it's the playlist, it's the book, it's the spades cards, it's the music. It's so much to this project. And it seems it's like a passion work. Tell us a little bit about that. and help us understand why it seems so apropos to lean into these saints at this time of year.
First of all, thank you so much, Dean Mason. Thank you, Nwaka. Thank you, Chuck and Claude. I am thrilled to bring the 61 Black Bottom Saints virtually to the Luther Porter Jackson Black Cultural Center on the campus of the University of Virginia, because joy is radical, and because all of these saints know a lot about moving from trauma to transcendence. And Ziggy, my favorite saint of all, knew a lot about building community and how together we can focus on art's capacity to help us know the self and restore the self. So I thank Dean Mason for this amazing opportunity, and I thank him for creating 28 thought-provoking days of programming around the book that invites students, families, artists, scholars, and amazing cultural curators into conversation and community with Ziggy and 4 seasons of saints. And I'll get back to that in a moment. One of the things that's so wild about Louis York, the title, which is for St. Louis and New York, is a lot of this book is all about Detroit and mid-20th century Detroit. It's about urban has been used as a word to actually be a slur against Black people. But the Black urban is a powerful construct. And as we said right before we went on this meeting, it is the Black urban, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia coming together that has lifted up America and pointed us all in a better direction and given us Biden-Harris. So part of this book is about what does it mean at our best to be Black and urban. But this is Black History Month, so we are looking back to move forward. And we need to look at a particular community, Black Detroit, because in mid-20th century Black Detroit, Detroit's Black Bottom was a vibrant Black neighborhood that rivaled New York's Harlem and Chicago's Bronzeville in terms of importance to Black arts, Black labor movements, Black politics, Black fashion, Black sports. I just mentioned Joe Louis, but there's also wonderful Black golfers arising from Detroit. All kinds of sports arising from Detroit, and so much art. Some years, some ways, the impact of Black Bottom on African-American life eclipsed the importance of Bronzeville and even Harlem. The first Black poet laureate of the United States, Robert Hayden, rose from Black Bottom. Boxer Joe Louis, sports' first international Black superstar, rose from Black Bottom. Charlotte Ruth Ellis, a pioneering GLBTQ activist, rose from Black Bottom. And Lloyd George Richards, who had become dean of the Yale School of Drama, who when Lorraine Hansberry's Raising the Sun was first produced on Broadway, would direct that play the first time it appeared, and who would eventually produce and direct August Wilson, all rose from Black Bottom. You don't get August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom without Lloyd George Richards from Black Bottom, who started off as a shoe shine boy when his mama was his maid and his daddy was a factory worker. You don't get Meryl Streep without him either. But how have we forgotten Lloyd George Richards? Part of it is the physical location of Black Bottom vanished. It started in and the map right behind me here is Black Bottom, and that square right there, that's Miller High School, where my father attended, straight up from Alabama. My father came up from Alabama, never worn a pair of shoes till he stopped in New York on his way to Detroit. He went to Miller and he would graduate and go to college from that school that helped so many Black people move from rural Alabama to urban Michigan. But Black Bottom vanished. It started in 1949 with the Federal Housing Act that would be used to level Black neighborhoods across the country. The year I was born, 1959, the Pavilion Apartments, designed by famed architect Mies van der Rohe and built on the soil of Black Bottom, were open to acclaim by people who didn't acknowledge what had been torn down to raise that building. In the mid-60s, Black Bottom was not only gone, it was starting to be forgotten. By the summer of 1967, when the last two major modern buildings built on Black Bottom soil, the Charlottesville Cooperative and the Jean Rivard apartments opened, Detroit in 1967 is in literal flames. The fires of that righteous rebellion were sparked by unjust and violent policing, to be sure. And violent policing was the immediate precipitating event. But many people in Detroit hoped that the flames would burn down a tapestry of racist practices, including vicious Negro removal and community destruction masquerading as urban renewal. When people said they burned down their own neighborhoods, no, they were pointing a fire that said, you tore down our neighborhood, you paved our neighborhood freeway. But before Black Bottom vanished, it burned bright, and nowhere brighter than the Gotham Hotel. Yes, the emotional epicenter of Black Bottom was a stately Italian Renaissance-style building that housed the Gotham Hotel. This building right beside me here, it's a Penobscot building, which appears in my novel. It was white-owned and not destroyed in this movement, but eventually it had a restaurant in it that some Black people did frequent in Ziggy's time. But Ziggy lived in the Gotham. And Langston Hughes called the Gotham Hotel the greatest Negro hotel in the world. It is a place, while Ziggy was living in Gotham, all the Saints and Black Bottom Saints were passing through its lobby, and more boldface names that aren't one of the Saints, including Thurgood Marshall to Billie Holiday. More importantly, school teachers and school kids, old couples on a spree, all Black, and young couples on a honeymoon, and all kinds of everyday folk, including some who stayed free, thanks to hotel owner and soft touch John White, one of the Saints, made the pilgrimage to the glitter world of the Gotham to be surrounded by Black excellence and swagger, Black industry and glamour. At the Gotham, there was amazing Black art on the walls, amazing array of paintings and photographs, some of the most notable created by one of the Saints in my novel, Artist Lane. And I am so proud to say that Artist Lane, the only living Black Bottom Saint remaining, has had a piece of her art chosen by Joseph Biden to be in the Oval Office. It's her Rosa Parks. In my novel, I talk about how Barack Obama put a piece of her art in the US Capitol. But there was also photography in the walls of the Gotham, such great Black photography that Sammy Davis himself, an extraordinary musician, joined the Black Shutterbugs Club that was housed in the Gotham to participate in that. He was a member, Sammy Davis was a photographer, and he took pictures as part of the Black Detroit Shutterbugs Club that also had exhibits of Black photography. And there was amazing food on the tables, from lobster and wild game to collard greens and sweet potatoes. The Gotham was a safe and reviving space for Black people to savor and enjoy all the pleasures of being human, and yet has been forgotten. For the students on this call, I want to shout this up and out. The legacy of Black Bottom for young people today has a public and a private aspect. The public side of the legacy of Black Bottom is that creating art and consuming art, telling and claiming our own stories, can be an act of restorative justice. The Gotham Hotel was razed to the ground in 1963. In 2021, in the pages of the Black Bottom Saints, in the songs curated on the playlists that you will be exploring, in the theme song created by Lewis York, the Gotham Hotel rises again, and with it, Black Bottom in all its splendor. The private side of the legacy is Black Bottom is that we, individuals and communities, can rise from extreme loss. Black Bottom insists that the crimes perpetrated on you don't get to define you. You define you. And you get to be sustained by history and art. One of the themes of Black Bottom Saints is that consuming art increases the capacity of the audience to revive the self and know the self. One of my goals of writing Black Bottom Saints was to re-examine the act of Black performance and the role of the Black audience. That's how you get to Joy is Radical. That is why I'm so thrilled that the spine of your programming through LPJ is a daily engagement with the songs from the world of Black Bottom Saints, because all songs are powerful and pervasive performance. You can listen to a song in the dark of the night, in the bright of early morn. Over the course of Black History Month, as you engage with the novel by reading even one chapter or listening to one song, I hope you will think about this understanding of Black performance. Loving the song, loving the artifact, loving the performer, loving the chapter is a bridge to loving yourself, loving your family, loving your community more profoundly by seeing your beauty, your family's beauty, your community's beauty reflected in the art. As Butterbeans and Susie, two of my saints, told Ziggy, find a way to make them love you and you will find a way to help them love themselves. It breaks my heart that Butterbeans and Susie, extraordinary performers, writers, dancers, singers, who launched more careers literally than the Apollo Theater, are almost completely forgotten and erased from the pages of American history. This novel took me 50 years of living, 7 years of research, and 3 years of writing to create. The Saints of Summer remind us to look back to move forward. The Saints of Fall remind us that individual excellence and effort cannot eclipse structural racism and other forms of discrimination. The saddest saint in the book is Tanya Blanding, who you'll hear more about on March 1st when I come back, who is shot down in her home at 4 years old and 40 pounds. When you get shot down in your home by a Michigan State trooper, you don't get to move from triumph to transcendence. But in the novel, we still imagine possibly she found joy in her own imagination, even as she died. The Saints of Winter are geniuses of resilience. I call them out to you all, and we are in winter right now. They are one-person grit academies. When you're up against it and determined to fight on, or want to deconstruct structural racism or structural sexism or classism, call on a Saint of Winter to help you out. If it can be done, they know how to do it. The Saints of Spring, those are Dean Mason strings. They know joy is radical. They move from survive to thrive, and they take a lot of folks with them. All the saints have three key things in common. Ziggy loved them. They spent significant time in or lived in Detroit, and each of them walked through the lobby of the Gotham Hotel, and they all know a lot about moving from trauma to transcendence. 59 of the saints are based on real people. This novel is historical fiction, a practice that weaves imagination into history, but it starts with fact. To ground you with that, I'd like to share a PowerPoint with you that I created in 2016. It's just gonna take us 60 seconds, when I was writing a draft of the novel that was called Zagging with Ziggy. And the novel was not in the form of a Saints Day book or a collection of virtuous lies. It was in the form of a straight narrative in a year in Ziggy's life. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the bones of Ziggy's world by marching through some pictures. So I call this one Zagging with Ziggy in the Shadow of River Rouge. Dean Mason, next slide. That's River Rouge, where Black people worked and they got their $5 a day that allowed them to come out and support a lot of bars. Next one. This is a portrait of a Black family in Detroit arriving from the South. This is one of Ziggy's breadwinners at work. These are the guys who worked on the factory floor, and these factories went 24/7, and when it went 24/7, the bars went 24/7 too. And many of the bars in Detroit and music things were owned by Black people, most of them. This is the Ziggy Johnson School of the Theater. The Center City Dance School existed in symbiotic relationship with the River Rouge car factory, and it was sent out to eclipse it. Next slide. There's Ziggy himself young in 1935. He started off, he went to high school with Nat King Cole, and he, at Wendell Phillips High School in Philadelphia. Mama was up from Wendell Phillips High School in Chicago, Illinois. His mama was straight up from Natchez, Mississippi. There's Ziggy in 35. This is country. That was Ziggy in 35. That's Mississippi in 35. That's Natchez, where Ziggy's mother was in the 30s. That's her. That's one of their relations in the 30s. Next slide, please. This is becoming urban Ziggy style. That's the Gotham Hotel. That's that Langston Hughes called the best Black hotel in the world. That's torn. Next slide. That's actually a picture from a Jabberwock, if I have any Deltas in the audience. That's the Detroit Jabberwock one year. And that's one of Ziggy's dancers winning the Jabberwock. Next slide, please. Here are many of the Gotham celebs. I already told you that Sammy Davis loved to come and stay there. Count Basie. This is an ad for it. All the rooms with bath and telephone. Next slide, please. Ziggy used to say, I'm a hotel man. Now, John White, who owned this hotel, made all his money out of the numbers racket. Sometimes we have to look past some sins to find some virtues. Next slide. Ziggy did 3 things. This is the Flame Show Bar that launched so many careers, including Laverne Baker's second woman and a Black woman to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Laverne Baker played the flame, loved the flame. That's Ziggy out and about, night clubbing with friends. That's GS, the greatest Greta Starks, another saint in the novel. And there is Ziggy. There's a list of him in another one of his clubs. I don't have time to list them all, but keep on going. I will say I found them through historical Black newspapers. These are the Supremes. Ziggy's Youth Colossal was so amazing. The Supremes and the Temptations all came and sang on the show and danced on the show with his kids. That's how good it was. They're coming up from the Brewster Projects. Next slide, please. That's the Sir John Hotel. That's where the Black folk went in Florida. Go on up. Next slide. That's one of the Youth Colossal programs. Let's bring it all together. Let's get our last slide so we can get to some Q&A. There's Ziggy in Idlewild. 2 hours away, the Black folk would come to the countryside. They would come to this place with Idlewild, and they could swim and ride horses, another big sport in Black Detroit, and golf. And then all night long, they put neon out there too. They went nightclubbing out in Idlewild. And it is wild that in a single summer weekend in Idlewild, there would be more Black doctors up there from all over the country that were in the entire state of Texas. Sometimes 50,000 Black people would be up in Idlewild, and we've forgotten that too. So that's my introduction to the Black Bottom Saints. And who would be starring Idlewild if it existed right now would be Louis York. So thank you.
I want to say, I want to try to make sure that, if anybody has questions in the audience and you'd like to just ask something of somebody, I'll let you do that. I want to say one thing really quickly so that I can make a connection. Professor Randall sort of said, by loving on the saints and loving on your lineages, you're actually beginning the process of loving yourself. And I think that's really, I need to put a pin in that. And then I want to push it a little further. For all of y'all who are taking classes about Black Charlottesville, you're taking classes here in this city, you're going to hear the phrase, the historic district, Vinegar Hill. And for those of you who have read about it or are learning about it, Vinegar Hill is Charlottesville Black Bottom. In 1965, that thriving Black community was razed to the ground in the name of, redevelopment, redistricting, all of those sort of whatever names they're using, euphemisms for destroying Black communities. Wait, this is recorded. Dang. All right. So but it is that. As you are reading and learning about Vinegar Hill, you are actually learning about, thank you, Mario, you are learning about Black people all across the country. Generations of families and Black people were having the same experience as we were having right here in Charlottesville, as we struggled to lose Vinegar Hill. So just know that when you're learning about things specific to this geography, know that you're probably learning and reading about others across the country. So with that, I do want to just open it up to questions. Thank you so much, Professor Randall. Thank you, Lewis and York. Look, I'm country, so I put that "and" in there. Lewis, York, Nwaka Onwusa. So thank y'all for being here. Does anybody want to ask a question? Perfect. Well, not perfect. I just like to talk. Professor Randall, who's your favorite saint?
Haha, that's interesting. One, I have to say Ziggy, because he gives us all the other saints. But actually, one of the ones that I love the most is Night Train Lane, personally. Because Night Train Lane is a man who go in the NFL Hall of Fame, and you'll know him related to that. But how the real Ziggy put all these saints into the lives of the students who came to his dance school. I attended the Ziggy Johnson School of Theater. It personally helped me move from trauma to transcendence. He told us this part of the Night Train story. Night Train was born, wrapped in newspaper and put into the little alley trash by his birth mother. A Black woman, Ella Lane, is walking down the alley. Here's what she thinks is a cat that needs to be taken out of its misery, and finds a baby boy. She took that baby boy into her heart and into her life and raised him as her own and gave him her name. His name is Night Train Lane. And Night Train always thought about the mama who picked him out of the trash, not the one who put him in. That was his genius. Robert Hayden, brilliant poet, but he focused on the mama who abandoned him and didn't always focus on the mama who raised him. And he sometimes made himself very troubled. So Night Train Lane, who reminds us to spot to hard-won happy, to focus on the joy, that love is the strut and hate is the stumble. And in that way connects me all the way back to Bessie Smith and her Nashville women, the way they strut, there ain't no bluff. Lewis, York have moved to Tennessee, and they're shining a light on Lil Hardin by doing that, and all of the great art coming out of Tennessee that isn't recognized as that. So Night Train gives me so much, and he loved Dinah Washington, was married to Dinah Washington. She died in his bed. That's a whole nother story. But Night Train loved her. He saw her with extraordinary eyes of love. And that's how we all have to be Night Train for somebody and hope we get there early enough. Because we would have run into a wall for Dinah Washington. We got to all be that for somebody.
And I see we're getting close, but I do want to pull up a document. So most of you at the University of Virginia, you're seeing these flyers sort of coming out. So I kind of had an idea who Professor Randall's favorite was. We've talked a little bit about this and how important Night Train's story is. She made available to our community Night Train Lane's passage. His section of the book is available to anybody in our university community, actually anybody in the world for this month. So if you go back and I can send it to whoever needs it, but just go back to those flyers you're receiving and you see around the university. Night Train's chapter is available on OAAA's website. You can read it with us. We're actually going to talk about it on February 11th as we sort of start our book club conversation, this month. So definitely read Night Train Lane's story. I love the thought about loving what you have rather than just being lost in the misery of what you don't. That's a beautiful lesson, which again is this thought about celebrating rather than constantly mourning, which I think is so powerful. So thank you for that. All right, so I do want to be respectful. We have all these wonderful people. Lewis, York, Nwaka Onwusa, did y'all want to say anything on the way out? Let me see if I got you there. Boom, I think I unmuted you. There you go.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, again, focusing on our triumph, focusing on our excellence, focusing on our resilience. I mean, that's what this month is about. Black history. Please, again, I'm looking forward to more conversations like this. Atlas Randall, thank you so much for your work and for imparting your spirit and just pouring your knowledge into us and making sure that these amazing leaders and trailblazers are continuing to be remembered. It inspires my work. You can check that out again at rockhall.com. I'm really inspired by today's conversation and by the music. Lewis York, thank you. So I'm not gonna do what you did, D. Mason, because we got that same issue. We got that Louisiana thing. Lewis and York, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
For just inspiring us through your music. So those are that's my testimony for today. Thank you.
We're honored to be here. Like we said before, I was sitting listening to Alice. We talk all the time, but I was sitting there like I was in the class, just like,
yes, yeah.
So good.
I hope you guys know that you got a treat, because just the way that Alice passionately expresses this stuff is griot stuff within itself.
Yes.
Like that was a master class in Black history, in Black History Month.
Mm.
Grateful.
And I always learn something new when I sit with Alice, and today my takeaway is love is the strut, hate is the stumble. Jesus Christ, that's good.
That's so good.
Write that in a song. That's
Yes, we can.
Can we do that song, Dr. Mrs. Strut?
Absolutely. So good.
And Nwaka, we're on the thing. We're working on getting something with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? A conversation about Vern Baker. We're gonna be
we are. We are. Cannot wait.
And I also want to mention Dean Mason has some amazing, even a monument in the form of Black Bottom Saints ice cream coming. And this year's theme for Black History Month is family.
Right.
I mean, that's a national theme of it. And this, some of the important families in the book are the Gordy family. Anna Gordy is a saint very much associated with music. The Diggs family will be one of the founders of the Black Caucus. So and the Roxborough family, the Black woman will be the first Black woman to be able to live on the grounds of University of Michigan. Her father had to sue the university to let her live there. Took a whole year. He was a gambler, a numbers guy, but he had to go to court. The bigger crime was his daughter was not allowed to live in state-owned dormitories until her father took them to court. So we have to really think about what is really virtue, because one of the things sometimes our healthy actions are criminalized. Even little children in classrooms are sometimes criminalized for speaking up and being busy. And sometimes, but always we can revive them the joy. And so think about these great Black families, the Diggs family, the Gordy family, the Roxborough family, who've done more to provide great art and audience than we know. And I'm really thrilled that Lewis York have they put my daughter, who's a poet, I've discovered them because they put her on an album. And when they first called, I said, Caroline, that can't be true. It must be some fake people calling in their name. They are too big. They're not reaching down to you, unknown poet. I just don't even believe this. I don't believe Lewis York.
She's brilliant.
Lewis York.
Caroline is brilliant.
And that's how generous they are to young artists. They are young artists themselves, but they are so generous to others. And Dean Mason, this is such a party. You've created a virtual party.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Well, look, you all, this is like, so consider this month kicked off. We've been doing this since Monday, sending out saints and sending out songs as you see them. Definitely go and listen. I got a lot of playlists. I have, before, MP3s or whatever, the streaming services, I had curated about 100 gigabytes of songs. I shouldn't be saying that on recording either, but had a lot of music that I loved. But one of the songs that I have just discovered now that I love is I'm Gonna Live Until I Die by Sammy Davis Jr., right? Mm-hmm. This is, I only discover these things through the playlist. It's a beautiful song. And there are so many other songs that I'm sort of discovering. And again, I'm steeped in this stuff. This is what I think about all the time, but there is so much still to learn and love about being Black and being Black in America and being Black globally. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful time. So thank y'all. At this point in the service, this is where I would do the benediction and people can start leaving. I'm gonna hang out a bit. If people want to stay for a little longer, but everybody, this has been so wonderful. Thank y'all for joining me as we kick off this month. It's going to be a great time. And what I suspect is, you know, right now we committed to 28 songs and 28 saints, but there are actually 62. And there are about 160 songs on the playlist. So we could do this till the end of the semester, you know, and I think we would probably be good to do that. So just know we're going to keep it up. We're going to keep celebrating us. We're going to keep celebrating these saints. And if you are not doing well, email me. Dr. Who, DRHOO at virginia.edu. Email me and say, Dean Mason, I need inspiration. I'll send you a saint and a song. How about that? So if you're not doing well, email me. I'll send you a saint and a song. All right. Thank y'all for coming. It's been great. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.
Thank y'all. All right. Peace.